This has been the craziest week ever for video games. When you really consider it, the things that have happened in the last 72 hours, we're going to be dealing with the fallout of this explosive contract for years and years down the road. We're probably still going to be talking about this in the next decade. Of course, we're referring to the fact that Microsoft has purchased Activision Blizzard for $70 billion, which means that everything from Call of Duty to Diablo may be a console exclusive very, very soon. But now, what I want to talk about this morning is that Sony has finally broken their silence. We have an official response directly from the heads of PlayStation about what this means for the future of these systems. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and I want to take a look at their statements, and I really want to dig into what it definitely means, because this is actually a declaration of war. Now, let's take a look at it. This is actually over on Bloomberg.com. I'm recording this video at about 5 a.m. I just randomly woke up as they were publishing this, which they published at 2:30 a.m. Now, here's what it is. Sony Group expects Activision Blizzard games to remain available on its PlayStation platform even after the completion of the publisher's proposed sale to rival Microsoft. We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and ensure that Activision games are multi-platform, a Sony spokesperson told the Wall Street Journal on Thursday. Now, this may be a very short statement, but it actually says something very, very clear, which I want to dissect. But here's the other aspect of this that I feel like is probably what spurned their statement. Sony shares dropped 13% on Wednesday in the wake of the Microsoft announcement. Now, let me actually break that down mathematically. A 13% drop in stock seems like a tiny number, especially when you compare it to this $70 billion deal. But what that actually means is that just yesterday, Sony lost $20 billion of value. Actually let that sink in. In 24 hours, they lost $20 billion in a single day of technical value. Now, this is quite insane, but it also makes sense when you really consider the fact that this is something that has possibly hurt them. This is the first time they've had this big of a drop in stock value since October 2008, which I think is when they were really screwing things up with the PlayStation 3. Now, here's what I think about all this. I believe that this is a direct response. I think that Sony is in a very, very terrifying spot because up until now, the last couple years, I've always thought that the biggest success of Sony is that they've tried to be the casual gamer's console. Not quite as much as like the Nintendo Switch, which obviously manages to bring in like grandmas and alcoholic dads. Everybody loves the Nintendo Switch, but I think that what PlayStation has been trying to do is make it where when someone walks into a store, when somebody just approaches the counter at their local GameStop or a Walmart or something, what is the first system they're going to say? Well, for the last generation, we can now objectively say that they asked for a PlayStation 4. If they were trying to buy stuff like Call of Duty, if they were just wanting to play the latest Madden or see the newest DLC or exclusive like Horizon Zero Dawn and stuff like that, they asked for a PlayStation 4. Sony has been very, very good about seeing like, all right, this is the spot for the gamers, but a lot of that came down to accessibility. It was the fact that Sony did not have a lot of exclusivity contracts. They kind of just knew that since they'd sold 110 million PlayStation 4s, developers were willing to put their games only on the PlayStation, even without any sort of monetized incentive. But let me just put that in layman terms. Basically, Sony was just trying to sell. Sony was only obsessed with having the highest system sales by any means possible. And when this happened, it made it where people were happy to put games directly on the PlayStation. But now Microsoft is buying exclusivity. Microsoft is coming in and using all the backing of all their other industries to just scoop up big chunks of video game companies wholesale. They're just buying them and making sure that their games are exclusive. We looked at this chart earlier, like look at this huge thing behind me. Consider the fact that it's everything from Doom, futuristic games that are coming out like whenever Fallout 5 comes out, Elder Scrolls 6, that's going to be a console exclusive. Microsoft is packing their bench. They're making sure that if you're going to buy games now, people are going to approach the counter and probably ask for an Xbox Series S or a Series X in the future. And I feel like Sony is in this spot where they don't want to compete in the same way. And it feels like Sony is now in this spot where they've never been before, where the pressure is just turned up to such a heavy degree because Sony, they want to still compete. They want to, of course, be the top dog. There is still a lot of people buying PlayStation 5s over the Xbox Series X. But what happens in a couple years without some giant casual AAA franchises like Call of Duty? Now, here's what's interesting about this is that looking at the statements, notice that they just talk about Activision and not Blizzard. Even though it is the same company, look, they just by name, we want to ensure that they continue to bring us those Activision games multi-platform. This feels like a nod to say they need Call of Duty. COD is a huge system seller. Like, casual gamers are not just buying it, but it's one of those things that buys a lot of microtransactions. People are buying loot crates and gun skins and all that DLC, and all of that makes a huge chunk of profit for PlayStation. I'm not sure you've ever decided to read through all the nitty-gritty details of those contracts that you agree to when you sign up for a PlayStation account, but basically, when you're buying those microtransactions through the PlayStation Store, a lot of that money goes to Sony, and then chunks of that go back to the publisher themselves. So even if you're playing FIFA Ultimate Team or whatever, and you're buying those loot crates that exist in that game, which as Americans, it's not really popular here, but that is still one of the biggest freaking franchises on the planet, that money, a lot of that goes to PlayStation for absolutely zero work. It's just free billions of dollars of profits that they're managing to scoop up. At least they did up until now. Sony is in a spot where they relied on that Activision money. They needed that Activision money. They soaked up a lot of profits from Activision simply existing alongside on their platforms. Without it, there is going to be a bit of a shock that's going to exist probably within the company. But how are they going to respond? The biggest talks I keep seeing is people say, all right, Sony needs to make an equivalently sized acquisition. Maybe not $70 billion the way this was, but they need to buy something like, the names I keep seeing is buy Square Enix, buy Konami and make an exclusive Silent Hill, which there's rumors may already exist. But I just don't think that Sony is really picturing the situation in that way. I think that Sony is still kind of assessing how they can move next. I'm still a little bit afraid of this becoming a fire sale. I'm a little bit nervous the fact that Sony does have quite a bit of money saved up. Sony could use all their purchased funds to try and scoop up a bunch of studios, a bunch of developers, and make more stuff exclusive. I mean, if they decided to buy like Bandai Namco or something like that, or buy From Software, imagine if every Dark Souls game or Elden Ring, or we do get a Bloodborne 2, that would be neat, but I feel like down the road, how is this going to be for the casual gamers? Now, I know a lot of gamers, especially the really hardcore people like us, seem to insult the casual gamers a lot because, well, their tastes are so random, but I feel like they are seriously the unsung heroes of the industry. They pour so much profits, they pour so much interest into this, they put so many extra eyes on the console wars, stuff like that. My thought is that if everything starts getting partitioned out, if there starts to be, this company has 5 studios, this company has 5 studios, Nintendo has their 5 studios, I feel like more people are going to lose than win. I own everything. I've got a great gaming PC, I've got some really good systems, I've got my Switch OLED, I can play everything, and I do like playing everything, but I'm always curious how this is going to affect the people who have a typical budget. Like, people are not going to be able to buy every single system for every single exclusive, and if every game that comes out is an exclusive, I feel like that's just it's gonna hurt more people than it helps. But what do you think about all this? Are you curious about the fact that PlayStation's official statement is so short and sweet? What do you think about the grander implications of this Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal? Thank you so much to everybody who's been subscribing and liking my videos. It has been a very whirlwind 72 hours. I love you guys very much. And I guess I'm just going to chill out and enjoy my breakfast and watch the sunrise. Love you very much. Thank you so much for watching. And please keep dreaming. My God, this is just wild. Oh God, it just doesn't calm down. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.